Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, I'm trying to figure out what to do. If you're just joining me, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe if you can because it's free and it helps me so much on the business end, you have no idea. Get your friends to subscribe, family as well, if they're into cars, racing, mechanics, and engineering, and all sorts of other failure. Please feel free. Like I said, anyway, I'm trying to get some ad revenue up with subscribers so that Google will pay for my racing bills with their ads and whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I mentioned that I don't know what to do, and that's kind of true because I'm standing here next to my race car and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next because to be honest, I keep reaching out to a few people for ideas and kind of think about where to go next on the whole setup idea and trying to get the car to handle again, and nobody answers me. So I guess I'm still on my own unless I pay for it, which that's not exactly easy for me to do at this point. So I'm just kind of doing basics right now. I'm in the shop just kind of standing behind a wall of tires that I really need out of here because they are in the way. But I'm looking through components and notes and just, I got to go back to basics. I got to start somewhere, so I'm going to go back to the beginning. And I basically went to the beginning when I started with this clip project and putting the rear clip in the car, which if you haven't seen those videos, go back and watch them because there's a 5-part series that I did where I basically fabricated my own stuff and put a clip on my race car in the garage. And the results basically told me that, yeah, it's different. It's just not better. And I was really hoping that it would be. Pardon me, I'm just peeling stuff off my car because reasons. Anyway, so today I'm basically tearing the car apart. I was thinking about calling up a chassis place and having them look at it, but I don't know if they want me to do something like have the car ready for the racetrack and what parts I want to put in it or what parts should I don't really know. Basically, all I'm doing is going through the rear suspension, and I'm probably going to take that rear out because it doesn't feel strong enough. You know, I feel like it's going to break. I don't like it. I see oil coming out of one of the tubes. It needs work. It would be a good spare, but I've got my 9-inch sitting over here, wedged back here in a corner. I got 2 of them, but they just feel so much more beefy. And yeah, they weigh a little more, but I can take a little lead out of the car, I guess. So I'm going to probably swap that in because I think I got the mounts correct this time. So I'm crossing my fingers because nothing else that I'm doing seems to work. So why not just keep failing? But whatever, we'll throw it in. It's a lot more beefy than what I got. And I'm sitting down here. I know this is one long continuous clip, but I got these gears sitting here that are all brand new and they're really beefy. So I really kind of just want to put some durability back in the car. So I'm doing that. I got to make the rear fit first because the brake calipers might not fit inside the frame rails. There's a whole list of things to do. I mean, I got to get to it because I'm already 4 minutes into this thing and we're not even started. So I got to do that. So I got one little minor issue with this rear before I put it in. I do want to put a tab like right here so that I can take the brake line and kind of solid mount it so it stops messing around. Maybe I'll fit some brake lines to it. I got to put a filter or something over this little breather cap here. And this spring perch is disgusting looking, I know. I might rebuild it or do whatever I got to do there. But it's also set back on the axle because before the mounts were wrong, and so the axle was kind of rolled forward. So that means that the spring was not centered on the axle. So I got to cut that one off. This one should be all set because I did redo that one already, and it's on a bracket that bolts it to the axle, so I can kind of move it around a little bit. I might do that to that one. Doubtful. We'll see. But this needs to get cleaned up inside and out. I might even fog a little coat of paint on it when I'm finally done, just because I'm kind of sick of looking at this gross stuff. So anyway, that's going to get cleaned up, fixed up, prettied up maybe a little bit, and then I'm going to toss it in there. I'll wait to put the gear in, and I might wait to get the brakes off because, man, I got no room with all these tires here. So it's a lot easier to put the rear in without the gear because the gear is like 70 pounds than it is the stock rear because the stock rear is super ungainly. I mean, the bottom of the pumpkin is angled and it's such a pain. These go right in because the bottom is flat and no gear in it means it weighs a heck of a lot less. I could just take it and just throw it under there and it'll be fine. Throw a quick coat of paint on her with some, let me see here. What's this called? Quick Color. More than likely Walmart paint. I don't know. It's got a 2004 copyright on it. I don't see any websites on it either, so this could be really old. Or it's just, oh, there are, okay, it's not old. It's just cheap. Anyway, that's going to dry. It's not gloss black. It's flat black because I ruin everything anyway, so who cares? Whatever paint I get for free, I'm going to use anyway. So now that that's in, I can start routing brake lines. And what I did for this thing, because I never had a, like these factory rears have a tab, you know, kind of built in, so that you can just bolt the brake line down. And I have 1/4-inch brake line like factory running to the back of my car because we used to run drum brakes and I've never changed it, which I probably should, but since I can adjust the rear brakes and they don't feel that bad, it doesn't really matter to me. I just stick with what I got. Plus, I can interchange factory stuff a lot easier with that. So I welded a tab and a bolt onto it. Right now I'm just kind of, oh, there it is. Looking for my factory thing here, brake hose, and I'm going to put this on, and I'm going to start running all brand new brake lines because I'm sick of the ones that I have. They look like crap. I want them to fit better, and I don't want them to be so long, and I have to pirate the brake calipers off of this thing, put them on here and make sure that they fit before we really start putting everything back together, like gears and drive shafts and all sorts of stuff. So the main concern that I had with putting these or this type of rear in my car is one that a lot of people don't really have, because they typically, if you're putting a 9-inch in a chassis like this, you might race somewhere. Oh, I see some fluid up here. I would love to know what that is. I might have to check that fuel filter gasket. That's okay. That's why you do stuff like paint, so that you can see witness marks. But anyway, the reason that I'm concerned is because my rules are a little bit different than, say, like a dirt track or a late model or whatever other division might run a G chassis car with a 9-inch rear. Usually you can run a 60-inch rear or 62-inch, even if you got something huge. My rules didn't say that at the time. I think they've since relaxed it, but at the time they said, hey, you can run one, but it has to be the same exact width as a factory axle. So this is a 58-inch, yes, 58-inch, 9-inch, and I'm sitting here concerned that the caliper is going to impact the chassis here. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, I'm looking down the plane here and I'm just seeing it hitting. And then I go like this, and I'm like, well, maybe. Oh, it doesn't hit. That's a little exaggerated, obviously, but that's kind of the worst case scenario. I know that, things tend to flex. Like, even I'm not allowed to run solid steel bushings, but, I have to run rubber or urethane bushings, which you can see. And they do flex a little bit, but I mean, this is the most exaggerated, that you're going to get, something like that. And I mean, the only other way you would see a difference is if the whole rear end came up and then it moved a little bit, but it's not hitting. I mean, it's actually got it's got a finger's width of gap here. So now I'm not concerned. That was my big concern the whole time as to why I wasn't running this, because my old clip, I know it was bent, but this used to hit. Like, I used to paint it and look for the witness marks for it to hit it. So I would cut it out and I'd, make little provisions so that it wouldn't, impact the chassis. But now I'm looking at it and I'm seeing nothing. You know what I mean? Nothing in the way, because before it was in the way and I was very concerned. Now I'm not seeing any witness marks from the factory one, and the factory brackets are basically just as close. So I'm hoping that it'll translate over. But now that I'm seeing all these, here, let me bring you in here. You can actually kind of see, look, and there's my fuel filter up here. And there's you can see little run marks down the side. That's really weird. So, all right, that's another thing I'm going to have to investigate. This thing is tight. I don't think it's fuel, but I did notice some weird, greasy stuff kind of dripping off the chassis. And I mean, it's yeah, there's some right there on my finger. I don't know what that is, but I did notice that this rear, another long clip for you guys, but this rear was leaking out of this seam for the axle. So hopefully this rear will solve that issue and be a lot beefier than that, now that you're all dizzy. I've still got to run some brake lines. Or actually, no, I only have one brake line left. Let me actually show you what I've been up to with the brake lines, because this, even this is kind of goofy. Here's the brake line off of the stock rear, and man, you can see it ain't good. I mean, it looks like it's gotten pinched. It looks like it's gotten bent, pancaked, and rusty. I don't like it. I'm going to throw it away. This one I might repurpose because it actually looks pretty decent, and the fittings are really kind of nice on it. So I think I'll chuck this one, keep this one. I might move it over to that rear just because it would be easier for me to change over, but I kind of don't want to. I want to leave things alone so that I can just swap things over easier. So this is what I did on the left side. This hose comes off of this caliper, and it will literally intersect with the brake hose and the T-junction here. But I made literally the smallest brake line. Here's my thumb for comparison. It covers the whole thing. And it's basically just a jumper piece. I'm going to zip tie this thing down so it doesn't, go anywhere. I am worried that it will impact the frame, but this is the left side, so this side typically picks up instead of pushes down. So we usually don't impact the left side. I've seen my brother impact the right side and squash a brake line, but I don't foresee that happening to us anytime soon. So I'll just keep the right side out of the way, but the left side's here for now. Longtime viewers of my channel will recognize this rear because this is literally the third time that I've dealt with this thing, and it's now version 3. I built it the first time, cut the mounts off it and tried again, cut the mounts off it and tried a third time. So we're doing great. So it's in there at least for now. I got brakes on it. I got some semblance of suspension in there. I bought some new springs from Speedway or whatever because I don't know. I rated my old stuff, and let's be fair, it's 20-something years old. So I said, all right, I'll put some other stuff in there, I guess. But we'll see if that works. Probably won't. But I got a lot of things to try. I got a lot of people to call. But I want to at least put the parts in the car that I want in when I race. And if I have to change a few things here and there, like springs or shocks, I at least have inventory now so that we can do that. So once I get the brakes bled and the pumpkin in, I got to put, gear oil in it, bolt the drive shaft up, which, by the way, I have a second drive shaft. And if we take a little walk over here, we can see that it's hidden for no reason other than I had some shelf brackets and there were already 2 nails in the studs. So I just hung them, and that's up there now. Also, random thing. I was at work today driving through the woods, and I found an entire gallon of WD-40. And I picked the cap off of it, and I smelled it, and yeah, that's WD-40, and it's full. No idea where it came from, but literally in the middle of nowhere in the woods, I found a gallon of WD-40. Whatever. I'm going to call it for today so far. I'll be back tomorrow or whenever. Maybe not tomorrow, but maybe 2 days, but it won't matter to you. It'll just be a cutscene anyway. But anyway, I'm tired. I have a bad headache. I don't know why, but like I said, we got to do all those things first. Then I got to basically go and tear the whole front end of the car apart because I want to make sure that all of the suspension is moving as it's supposed to, that there's no binds, that there's no bent ball joints, that there's no lower bushing binds. I don't know. Those lowers, I mean, I don't think I've ever bent a lower in a street stock. I've bent plenty of Mustang ones, but I don't think I've even bent a lower in a street stock. Unless my brother did when he hit the wall, but I don't know if that was more front. Doesn't really matter. We're splitting hairs at this point, but we got to take the front end apart regardless of whatever I'm trying to say, and we got to figure out what's going on up there. Once we do, then we can start at least making some changes, but for this video, we're going to start throwing parts at it and hope for the best. So I will be back in a few days. It's been a few days. There's this giant glowing orb in the sky that I don't know what it is, but I kind of enjoy it. This came in. I got an order from unnamed delivery company. And my toolbox has been broken. This track, you can see it's just completely blown out. There's no ball bearings, are all gone. All plastic's all ripped out of it, and it's all just junk. So I got to do some maintenance to the toolbox. The heavy drawer is going to get 2 new tracks, hopefully. And I got them right here. because I'm really tired of that. And then I'm going to go back and start working on that. But we got to make sure that we can actually get to our tools and not have any issues there first. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, it's a Harbor Freight box. No wonder it's broken. Well, let's be fair. This thing's been through absolute hell and back. I've had it for, God, I can't even remember how many years. At least 7 or 8 years. And it's done everything that I've wanted it to. I mean, all the other drawers, they all work just fine. Everything's great. You know, no problems. It's just the bottom drawer. But it might be my fault because I've had this thing kind of go on walkabout in my trailer when I was leaving the racetrack, and it's tipped over, and that could have resulted in why the tracks are broken. I think any toolbox could have broken with all the abuse that I've given this thing, so I have no complaints. I don't care if it's Harbor Freight or not. Small tech tip for today: if you're cleaning RTV off of something, the best way to do it is with a scraper, which I don't know where mine went. Oh, it's back there somewhere. And then when you get the majority off, carb cleaner and a wire brush. I've used brake clean, doesn't work as well as carb cleaner. Carb cleaner, if you're using like nitrile gloves or like latex gloves or something, it'll expand those gloves. And it's basically the same principle with, RTV. It's basically a rubber, so this carb cleaner will expand that, and you can, comes right off just immediately. All right. To put a carrier for a Ford 9-inch in, what you want to do is you want to goop it or use a paper gasket. Paper gasket is kind of preferable just because of the ease of cleanup if you're going to change it a lot, but RTV works fine. It's just a little bit more of a pain to get out. Now, don't use an adhesive RTV like a Right Stuff or a Blacker RTV because you'll never get it off. It's just never going to come off. What I use is just like a gasket maker or like a gray. Even a red would probably work fine. It's not going to degrade because of the heat or anything. It's even just a regular gasket maker works. I've tried that too. But the best way to put one of these in is just grab it. I don't know why people complain about these things being heavy. They're not that heavy. This isn't aluminum, by the way. It's just kind of on there. Shoot, I might need a hammer. Hey! Ask and ye shall receive. You might need to tap it on a little bit. It's a little tight sometimes. Sometimes they go right on. Other times, they don't. This one's a little tight. Then you can take your whatever nuts you're using. Probably should put washers on these, I guess, but at this point, I don't honestly care. I think that they are if you need new ones. Like I had to go source some. They're a standard size, but they're a fine thread. Gunner wrench. And there you go. Simple as that. All right, so now that I got the gear in, drive shaft in, everything else is kind of bolted in for now. I don't know what I'm going to change, but we'll see. I might as well put the whole thing together so I don't forget nothing. I'm going to pull these covers off, throw the axles in. I got a box full of oil, which, kind of funny story. I seemingly live in the middle of nowhere, which, to be fair, not really the middle of nowhere. I just kind of live in suburbia, where the nearest major city is over an hour away in either direction. So that's nice. But I do live within 15 minutes of 4 different chain parts stores, like auto parts stores. The closest one to me is Napa. It's like 5 minutes away down the road. And the next closest would be a little further than that, like, I don't know, 7 minutes away. I don't know. I don't care about being exact, but that's the newest one. They just built one down the road. It's an AutoZone. And then I got two next to each other, 15 minutes away in the next town over. That's an Advance Auto Parts and an O'Reilly's. I went to the newest store just to check it out, the AutoZone, because I needed just a gallon of gear oil. I figured anybody could have, like a Valvoline or, some name brand, whatever decent, no free ads, but whatever decent gear oil, anybody should have it, right? And I needed some upholstery cleaner for some other project I got going on that I don't know if it's going to make to the YouTube channel or not. But so I went to the brand new store. I get there, it's 9:30 in the morning. They open at 8. It's the AutoZone. Pull on the door, locked. Walk to the next door, locked. There's a sign up that says they don't have change and that they can only take cards only. And I'm like, well, why aren't you open? So I said, all right, well, I go to my nearest store, the Napa, and they literally had a sale on gear oil. So I got the exact thing that I needed, and it was on sale, and I didn't even know it. So, hey, it worked out well. Anyway, if I'm putting this whole rear together, I'm going to make sure it's got oil, and it's got axles, and it's sealed up, and it's ready to go. I do not like leaving projects half finished because you start to forget things. You'll put the oil in it, but not the axles, or vice versa. Then you go out, you blow the damn thing up. Finish your jobs as you're doing them, and you'll never have an issue. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. All right, guys, I went and did a little bit of investigating as to what these liquid stains are. And I looked up, and there's a lot of paint that's wrinkled off of here. I wonder what happened. Ew. Oh, crap. No wonder I was using a lot of fuel. That's not tight. When you put a car together by yourself, or even with a team of people, things can happen. And, well, I noticed that I was getting a little extra fuel usage over the course of testing and racing and such. But, things happen. It was on finger tight, but luckily that's not a pressure line. That is a vacuum pull. I don't know. It pulls from the fuel cell. I didn't notice any power loss, so, that's a win. But what if the car was getting loose because it was spraying fuel on the right rear? Now I have to go find the tire and see if there's any sort of witness marks on that. There's something about maintenance and making sure that you have fail-safes in place. Now, what I typically do is I like to use safety wire a lot. And I know a lot of other guys do too. So if you go to Harbor Freight, you can get yourself a pair of safety wire pliers. And to be fair, they actually work really nice. I might have got these from Amazon, though. No, I got them from Harbor Freight. Yeah, I remember now. I drill small holes through the side of these cover bolts. This is the axle cover. You can do this to a lot of different stuff. You can safety wire a lot of things to make sure bolts don't turn or something doesn't loosen up, whatever the case may be. But I kind of take it in here, try to make the ends as even as possible. I don't know if this is really the proper way to do it, so don't quote me on this. Again, this isn't really a learning channel, but this is how I do it. You could learn from me. You could learn from my mistakes. I'm really good at doing that. Basically, you just kind of pull, and it'll twist on its own. You don't want to go too far, because then you really start making it brittle, but then I'm going to take and I'm going to cut the end very, very at the end. All right. And then I don't know if it's going to make it. Maybe I have to make another one. But what I do is I take these. Yeah, this one's going to be my demonstration one. I take these and I kind of just make the hole big enough that I can just run this through like that. And then you run it through the next one. But seeing as I made this one too short, I'm going to have to make another one. But you get the basic idea of how this works. So this is how I do it. Again, it's probably not exactly the best way of doing it, but all it really has to do is just stop these bolts from turning, and that's literally all it does. So that should be good to go. I've never had one come out by safety wiring it, so that's one thing that at least I don't have to worry about while on the track. So I think we got all this at least looked at. You know, we got the rear kind of put together. It seemed to go together really well. I got to bleed the brakes and stuff. I put the tires on it and put it on the ground just because I wanted to see what it would do and make sure that there was no binds in it. I went through the front end and we changed some springs just because I knew what they were rated to. And I wanted to try a little something new. I got the front back together. I found a couple things not pinned, like the tie rod and the ball joint, that I don't like. I like being safer than that. So anyway, front and rear has been gone through. Now we got to move on to other things. Like I want to redo the shifter, and I have one, and we're going to go through that and clean that up, and that'll be another video. And I do have to go through, and I actually want to go and redo all of my lead, which I've never done before. And that's going to be an outside project because I don't want to be breathing that, because I think I'm going to take my lead chunks and an old stock pot and literally melt new lead and make forms for it. So anyway, thank you all again for watching. I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you can. It's free to do. It helps me so much on the business end. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anybody who's racing car and mechanics and engineering related. Maybe they enjoy it. And until next time, thank you again.